for having me. Thank you for having me.
So we know people can look up band bios pretty easily online, but would you like to give our listeners kind of a quick rundown of how Fort Hope came to be?
Yeah, sure. So it's been a long journey. But basically we started off our lives in a band in a small town in like a village which is just north of London here in the UK called Hitchin. Um, and there used to be this like rugby club that used to put gigs on, and we all used to go like every weekend. And there was also another club in town which is called Club 85, where kids used to go to underage drink, watch punk shows. So it was that kind of vibe. And anyone who was kind of a weirdo went there and stuck out. And I guess like we all met because we were all kind of the weirdos of our groups from around the area, and we kind of gravitated towards each other. Then we formed a band, and we were in that band for about 10 years. So we toured, we got what around Europe, played a bunch of shows, and we had a great time. And then that band came to an end, and we decided to start Fort Hope and add a couple of new people in. So that's kind of how we started as a band. So we didn't really take any break. We just went from one band straight into Fort Hope, and the wheels just kept turning, kept turning. So it was quite bizarre because our previous band was a lot more kind of like a goth horror punk type vibe, where it was extremely like dramatic, like loads of makeup, like crazy performances, live shows and stuff. And then when we started Fort Hope, we just kind of wanted to strip everything down and go back to something a little bit more focused in on the music. And yeah, that's basically how we started. It was a very natural thing with people from the same town, friends from the music scene, like I'm sure a lot of bands begin and start. But yeah, that was it. It was just a natural thing of guys wanting to get together and play. And we just didn't want to stop, so we thought, right, let's just make another band and then we can carry on.
How'd you come up with the band name?
Well, I remember actually I was working as a follow spot technician in a theatre at the time. And I hated it because I was shining lights on other people, and I was like, that needs to be me. That needs to be me. So begrudgingly making the light ever so smaller every single time they were on stage. I was thinking, oh man. But yeah, we were just like had that, the casual meeting where everyone puts band names together, getting a huge list going. I can't remember what some of the names were. There was one I liked actually, which everyone hated, was Joy Fortuna. And everyone was like, it just sounds like you really like tuna. And I was like, yeah, well, it's not really supposed to be like that. We had this huge list, and I remember I was working one night, and there was some show that came through town that was like a kind of, I can't remember what it was, but it was like a Jersey Boys type vibe where they do like a look through all the ages, and the performers were on stage, and this slide came up, like this projection came up on stage, and I think it was something to do with Elvis. Anyway, it was like, oh, 1936 Fort Hope, and it just said it on the back. And I was working, and I was thinking, shit, I was like, that is the coolest name I've ever seen. I need to write that on the list. I had no idea what it was. I didn't have no idea it was a place. I just thought, that's cool. I really like that. It sort of embodies what we were going for. And I took it to the guys, and I think 70% of them liked it. So that was enough to get it over the line. But yeah.
70% liked it.
Yeah, or 60%, probably 50%. It wasn't easy to convince them. I remember them saying, yeah, but is that a name that we're gonna like look back on in 10 years and we're gonna regret? And I was like, no, I just don't see how that could happen. But the more hope disappears from your life, I guess, it becomes more of an ironic name. But yeah, no, we were happy with it. It got over. It was better than Joy Fortuna. It was better than, I can't even remember the other ones. They were kind of really metal, the names that we had. Like they were just super gnarly names. like Purple
I,
Lightning.
I
Or
wonder how many bands name their band and then kind of regret it years later, you know?
I reckon all of them do.
Well, yeah,
Like,
that was interesting. When we had Shane Told on, he didn't seem too keen on Silverstein.
really, that's the thing. It's like you think it's a great idea, and then as soon as like time goes by, you're like, oh my God, because obviously you name it at a point in your life, and then you grow up, you grow and you change
Right.
and you become different. Just like, you know, how your music does and your taste in music. I guess in a similar way, it's a bit like playing your early material. You're looking back at it thinking, this isn't me anymore. But it's the label you have, and you kind of have to live with it. And I think in a way as well, it kind of becomes just your identifier. It's not really like the meaning behind it. If it had one, that kind of disappears a bit, and it just
Yeah,
becomes like a stamp that you use. Do you know what I mean?
definitely. Definitely. So Fort Hope was silent for quite a while after vanishing off of social media in 2017. So how does it feel being back at it, writing music and performing again after so long?
It's brilliant. Like, to be honest with you, it's amazing to be on stage again. Like the social media aspect of it, we had to get to grips with, because, you know, we came from a world where MySpace was a new thing when we were
Mhm.
in bands. That was like the new thing. We were like, what is this? This will never catch on. Um, but yeah, it's what sort of made us realize we needed to be out performing again was our friends who were in a band called Lost Alone. They had a tour of the UK, and they were looking for a support. Our drummer Jamie is like the most sort of proactive person in the world. Like, he'll message people, be like, oh, can we play this show, can we do this? And he ended up hooking us up with the tour. And when we went on the tour and we played live, we just realized how much we missed it. Because we, throughout the time that we were quiet, we carried on writing, we carried on rehearsing, we were still recording material. We just didn't sort of put it out online that we were doing it. So it was a crazy thing to like forget that huge part of being in a band, which is, you know, performing live, playing shows. It was such a crazy thing to forget how much and how important that part of it is. And when we did it eventually, it was just like, right, okay, no more hiding. Like, let's just get back out there. We gotta just brave it and do it. So yeah, it's an amazing feeling. We love it. There's nothing better than it, you know, there's nothing better.
Yeah. It was actually weird because sometimes there would be things that get posted, like something would come up on Spotify and it'd be like Fort Hope. And I'm like, that ain't Fort Hope. Like
Yeah,
something else is connected to your guys' name and it's really odd on Spotify. And I'm like, that is not them.
it was the weirdest thing. Like, I would get
Still
messages.
connected.
Yeah, it's still there. Like, I've worked tirelessly trying to get this thing removed. It's like some kind of meditation.
Music, yeah.
Yeah, which, don't get me wrong, I love that vibe, but it's certainly not us. But people are messaging me saying it's a little bit of a strange direction the band's taking. Like,
That's
what's
what I
going on
thought.
with
I
you
was like,
guys?
oh, we're going this direction now. I'm like, this can't be real.
Yeah, exactly. So I have no idea like what that was all about. Um, but I kept thinking, I was like, you know, being like, I was like, am I being really self-centered here? I was like, someone's trying to get us to come back by annoying us by putting music out that isn't us. But from what I can tell, it just is literally somebody else with the artist name Fort Hope, and they're just associated with our account. Um, that's probably the least dark version I can come up with.
Right.
But yeah, that was the strangest thing. So it was good to get all that cleared up and start putting our own music out again, which was nice,
Yeah.
with vocals on it as well, which was good.
So I know I've loved Fort Hope since 2015 because I came across you guys on like Spotify Weekly Discovery years ago
Cool,
now. And I can't remember the exact song, but I'm pretty positive it was on Courage. That
nice.
being said, between your Courage release and the newer music you've been releasing, how would you say your music has progressed or changed over the years?
Yeah. Well, I think like that first record we put out was, I don't know, it was sort of like a cathartic album for us to write, and we really wanted to do something a lot lighter than what we'd previously been doing. So we were just focusing on, they were kind of, all of those songs were developed from more sort of singer-songwriter-y type vibe songs. So they weren't necessarily written as a band. They were kind of written maybe on piano or on acoustic, and then they were set to be played live. It was that kind of vibe. And then the more we started getting together as a unit and playing more together, the more we realized, we were like, where's the riffs at? Like, we need riffs. We have to, like, we love that aspect, and like really our roots are in that kind of heavier side. And that's where we just naturally progressed to. And I think, you know, as we grew older, the kind of more technical side, and I wouldn't go as far as calling it progressive because that's just ridiculous, but you know, that kind of like enjoyment in making things a little bit more technical and making things more adventurous. I think that's why that's happened, just in a natural way, trying to make things a bit more interesting, I guess.
Yeah, definitely.
And how would you say your music reflects your personal experiences and emotions? And do you hope that resonates with fans and listeners?
Yeah, for sure. Like, I think that's our main goal with our music is to pluck something from your own life, like a moment, an emotion. I think like a lot of writers would be able to relate to this. Is, you know, something happens in your own life, and a way to kind of move through it, or a way to get over it, is to write about it. And that's what I've always done, like ever since I've been a kid. I've always done that, and I think that it's I'm not sure why I do it, but it's what I do, and it always seems to help me. And once that feeling is put into music, if that can do the same thing for somebody listening to it, then that's brilliant. You know, I couldn't ask for any more than that. And I know the other boys feel the same way. There's absolutely nothing better than seeing that firsthand, and like seeing people sing back to you those words that you've written. They start off as something that's really personal, and they end up as something that's more like universal and relatable to other people. But the intention in the beginning is always a pure one, that's just kind of like, I just need to get this off my chest kind of vibe, or I need to figure out my own thoughts and feelings, and why I feel like this, or how can I overcome this situation. And that's what's amazing, is that, you know, you realize through doing that other people feel the same way as you. And that, I guess, in a nutshell, that's really like the power of music, isn't it? It's that relatability, and that the way that people share those feelings and those moments together.
Yeah.
Is
Definitely.
there a song or maybe particular lyrics of yours that mean the most to you? I mean, I'm sure through, you know, all the music, you know, everything holds a meaning to you, but is there one that stands out as like the most meaningful to you?
It's hard, because I think with songs and your own music, it's hard not to take other people's reactions into consideration with that kind of, when you're thinking about what means the most to you. Because there's all sorts of different songs that I love of ours that are, if nobody heard it, for example, I wouldn't mind, because I'm just so proud of the song. But then there's other songs that are attached to like achievements, or certain things. Like, for example, one of our biggest dreams was to be played by Zane Lowe, the DJ. That was probably our biggest dream for so long, ever since we were kids. So, like, I would go out into my car and I would switch on his show, and I'd play my CD of our band, and then I'd switch onto his show and pretend that it was him playing it, which is so sad, right?
No, you're a dreamer.
That's it. I'm a dreamer. I can't help it. But when that finally happened, and he played our track Plans, and the song is so kind of like, it's got that feeling to it where it's like, you know, we can do it. We're going to achieve this. We're going to get anywhere. We, you know, dream big and don't give up. The fact that he played it and his reaction to it was mind blowing. I remember, like, running out of my car. Like, so I was in the car and I pulled up next to my house and I ran out from my car and I couldn't even run. I was like falling over, like tripping over the garden like some paper boy or something. But yeah, so that song is probably the most important one to us, because it was really where we felt like we got noticed by a larger audience and maybe people in the industry, or at the time our favorite DJ. And yeah, it was that's probably, along with the meaning of the song, that's probably one that means the most, I think, for sure.
Awesome.
Yeah.
So you guys have released 2 singles recently, more recently, Powers and Sandbags, which I feel they're phenomenal songs, honestly.
Oh my, thank you.
They definitely, to me, have the classic Fort Hope sound, but then there's a bit of an edgier sound to them as well. From these 2 releases, is this a good representation of the direction you guys are going in now?
Yeah, for sure. Like, because we had a lot of chats, a lot of downtime, which is kind of part of the problem when you've got when you lose momentum, or you lose momentum, but when you take your foot off the gas, you've got all the time in the world, so you can be like, right, let's do something like this, and you'll work on it for 6 months, and then you're like, oh, maybe we won't, maybe we'll do something like that. And that's part of the thing. When you're in motion, you just put out what you're doing, whereas when you stop, you can afford to like waste time, basically.
Mm-hmm.
So when we got to the point, we just thought, right, what do we need to do? We need to show people what we're like live. How do we sound live? Okay, so what's the band? The band's 2 guitars, a bass, drums, 1 voice. So we went into the studio with that in mind, and we wanted to just keep it that basic and that setup. So we wanted the songs to work in that format, so we didn't have to kind of rely on any kind of huge amount of samples or backing tracks or orchestra, which obviously we would love to have, but we thought, what would we be able to show up somewhere, like hop on a plane and play a tiny bar in Barcelona, or without any of the equipment that we have? So it was all kind of, the sound was dictated by how we wanted to be moving forward. We wanted to be a flexible band, and we didn't want to have to rely on like a huge amount of touring crew and set up time. We wanted to just keep it simple and be able to have fun playing live. So that was a part of the decision and how we were going to sound. I mean, it's funny we should say that, because we've just started recording our next EP and we're already going back on that. But I guess we started with the right intentions. But yeah, that's more of the sound we're going for, is just stand-up rock and roll, you know, just guitars, bass, vocals, drums, and trying to keep it a bit more simple and let the songs do the talking, not like all the fancy bits, if you see what I mean.
Yeah. I mean, I would say they're definitely not simple sounding. So they don't sound simple. So you think they're simple, but I don't think they sound simple. So that's a good thing.
That's good. We did our job then, I guess.
So that being said about the singles, if you're able to share, when can fans expect the next single?
The next single is going to be coming out with the release of the EP.
Okay.
So our EP comes out on March 1st, I think, if I'm right, which includes another new single called Anthem for the Blessed, which I'd like to make a world first premiere of the title here today. That's the next single. So that's what fans can expect to hear. And alongside that, we've got like our typical acoustic versions that we love to do, and alternate versions. They're also on the EP. But yeah, following that, we've got a really exciting version of the single Powers coming out shortly after, which is featuring another artist that we love, which we've been working on. I think we completed it maybe a couple of months ago, but it's so exciting. And it's one of those funny things where you get somebody else on your track and they make it better, and you think, oh, we should just use this version in the end. But it's really fun. So yeah, there's loads coming at the moment. But yeah, March 1st, next single, EP. And then shortly after that, there'll be another single coming out too.
Yeah. Well, at least I'll know this, but I don't think this interview will be going up before March 1st, unfortunately.
Okay, that's good. It means I didn't break any rules.
See, you didn't
I'm not
break any
gonna get in
rules. I was
trouble.
like, oh, it's coming up so soon. Oh, well, good for me, bad for the
Yeah.
listeners.
I did want to quickly mention I'm admiring your cable management to your side over there.
Oh yeah. I'm so anal with this. Like I'll give you a little tour of my cables. I
That's a lot of cables.
You know what? I have more cables than anything else.
Is that what goes out the most? Does cables go bad?
Well, they do. But I used to have a lot more equipment as well. So I needed more cables, but I'm sort of a hoarder of cables, so I didn't want to throw any of them away. But
got
yeah,
a lovely cable collection.
oh yeah, like I got cables from the 90s. I got cables.
No,
That's the thing.
go ahead.
Sorry, I was going to say, like I mentioned earlier, I worked in a theatre. I remember
yeah.
the guy who I used to work with used to always have a go at me about like how to coil a cable correctly, and I'm very proud of my technique. It's it's something that has been like literally bashed into me. Like you need to do this right. So yeah.
Yeah, I've got a lot of friends in like the IT industry, and my one friend that I've known since school, he always sends me pictures when he goes to a job and the cables are just a mess. And then he'll take a picture when he's done, and he's like, "It only took me 7 hours."
I love that.
Only.
Yeah,
But
only.
that's the thing, like cables, especially like in a even like a tiny little home studio, they've got to be tidy. It's like tidy cables, tidy mind. Like
Well,
I always,
if the room's smaller too, it's better to be tidy.
yeah, exactly. Like I always
No.
used to have this freakish kind of OCD vibe thing where if I was going to track a demo, I'd have to like tidy everywhere and clean everywhere, hoover everywhere, wipe everything. And I'm like, mate, this isn't making the song any better. Just like, just get on with it and record it. But it's just this kind of weird thing where you feel like once everything's and everything's where it needs to be, like the song's going to turn out better and it's going to sound better. It won't, but it's psychological. So.
Yeah, it's the cable management. I worked in mobile technology for a long time, working for a cell phone carrier, and I was in the store for a while. And every night we had to put away the display phones and then tidy up the cable. And
Right.
I called it the noose method of storing your cables, and I still do it to this day.
I love it.
So you just like wind it up around your hand, and then you take the end and you wind it around the loop that you just made and pass it through, and it keeps it so it doesn't get tangled. I still do it to this day. Still.
It's that these
Anyway.
things they become ingrained in our lives, and this.
Yeah, I've only ever wrapped things around my elbow.
Oh no!
And my hand. Sorry.
That's the thing. I love
it's
that.
Like,
People
it's
are
like
so anal about it.
It's like those memes you see of like all those wired headphones all those years ago. You put it in your pocket for a minute and pull it out, and it's the most untieable knot you've ever seen.
Oh, it's the one. It's like in with your house keys, and like every single thing is just completely entangled within it, for sure.
Yeah. So correct me if I'm wrong, but I don't believe Fort Hope has collaborated with anyone in the past.
No.
Is there anyone you'd like to collaborate with?
Oh my god, yeah. I mean, we'd love to. I think I don't know why we haven't done it. Like it's a strange thing. I'm not really sure why we haven't done it before. There would be like a dream unachievable list that I would have, which would be like Kate Bush, for example. Like, come on, Kate, let's do something together. But you know, you never know. That would be incredible. Artists like that would be amazing. And then we've got more kind of artists like, I don't know, UK artists we'd love to do something with. We were a fan of the band Enter Shikari.
Okay. Yeah.
They're like from a similar area to us. That would be a cool thing to do. I'm trying to think who else we would love to collaborate with.
Any bands from the States?
Any bands from the States? Let me think. I'm trying to think of any bands that are still like going that haven't split up.
There's quite a few. There's quite a few for sure.
Yeah, they're still there. Sorry, I meant like of the bands that I know. Yeah, let me think.
You gotta remember too, we had the big emo revival over here, so.
Oh yeah, of course. So you've got like, we've got My Chem, they're back up and running.
Yeah.
Frankie Airo would love to do something with him. That would be great because we did a tour with him and his band actually about, well, it was a long while ago now, maybe 9 years ago, 8-9 years. And he was super fun and his band were amazing. So that would be something pretty cool. We could do something quite like punk rock.
Yeah.
That would be amazing. He was great. Let me think who else. Obviously, there's just so many huge American bands that we would love to work with. We also like working with people who aren't really in the same genre as us. I think that would be something we'd like to do. Yeah.
What about one of my favorite bands from over there? What about like Hot Milk?
Oh yeah, I think we know the singer actually. We crossed paths with her a few times before. They're amazing. I've been seeing them on social media, like so cool looking. Like I wish I was as small as the singer because guitars just look really cool on her. And I was like, why do guitars not look as good as that on me? I was like, nah, she's really small. And she just looks epic, man. Like I think I saw a picture of her with I think it was a new Gibson guitar that she had, and I was just like, I'm so jealous right now. It looks so rock and roll. But yeah, that would be amazing. There's another British band, Wargasm. They're really good. We're about to, on our tour, we're going on in March. There's a great band from Manchester called Queen Cult who are supporting us, and they're mega, like, definitely going to try and get them on a track of ours.
Yeah.
Just have to slowly chip away at them every single night and be like, come on, guys.
Chip away.
Just chip away.
We actually interviewed another band from the UK called Kite Thief. I don't know if you've heard of them. Yeah.
I've heard the name. Yeah.
Yeah.
Where
They
are they
considered.
from?
Where were they from, Chris? What area?
I can't remember.
I don't remember what area. I feel like
Somewhere
they
in
said
the UK.
something, but I don't remember. It was a while ago that we interviewed them, so I'd have
Mhm.
to look back at when and where they said they were in.
Yeah,
the area.
that was a dizzying day. We were just talking. They're from Bristol.
Bristol. Oh yeah, nice. That's not far from me actually. It's a nice place.
Yeah, that was a interesting interview because we actually had 2 back-to-back that day. We actually interviewed
Really?
a band from Russia prior to interviewing them.
Okay.
Yeah, some grunge shoegaze band from Russia.
Oh, nice. That sounds like an amazing mashup of genres.
Yes. Yes, it was.
I love that vibe.
They were interesting. They had some good stories. I think some of my favorite stories that I've heard since
Really?
starting the podcast. Yeah, they were talking about because we asked a question about like some of the craziest stuff that's happened while performing, and the singer mentioned that like mid-set their bassist went off and like on his own like little riff and like cranked up his stuff, and they stopped the show and like, what are you doing? And they fired him mid-set.
I love that. That's like band fights. You can put that into YouTube and just sit and watch that all day. That's just incredible.
I haven't done that. That sounds fun.
Oh, it's a really fun. I don't know what it is. It's like seeing that amount of chaos on stage happen is just hilarious. Obviously, you're just so happy that it's not you.
Right.
But it's like some bands can have the worst relationships with each other. You know, it could be so brutal, and kind of there's such a little microcosm, and everything is so intense with bands, and watching it come to a head and erupt on stage is just glorious. Like, I love that chaos. It's such a sick thing to love to see, but I love it. There's a brilliant one I've seen recently where I think it's the singer attacks the drummer in the middle of the song because he's playing out of time or something. It's just wonderful to see. I love it.
I don't know if I've ever seen any fights break out on stage when I've been at shows.
Yeah, it's such a rare thing. We actually were attacked by, we played this place once, and we were playing a show, and and the band lent us the gear that we were using, the drums and like a bunch of the cabs. And this was in a band previous to Fort Hope where I wasn't the singer, but the singer was kind of like Danzig and Iggy Pop mixed together. Like he was just mental, and he would jump and off the drum kit and just go mad. And the drummer of the band kept coming up to me and being like, if that singer jumps on the drum kit one more time, I'm gonna, you know, knock him out, whatever. And I was just like, I can't do anything. I'm playing the drums right now. So the singer jumps on the drum kit again. Lo and behold, this guy, and they were way older than us at the time. We were only like in our early 20s and they were in their mid 40s, I think, or late 40s. And they ran on the stage and just started beating the shit out of the singer. Everybody went into a massive like huddle on the stage, and you know when there's so much momentum, people are kind of pushing and pulling each other. All of a sudden, everyone just fell off the stage into the crowd, and the crowd just started attacking these old guys who had attacked us. It was just a mass brawl. But yeah, it was fun. It was.
I guess shows in the UK are definitely different than shows here.
Oh yeah, there was no security or anything. It was kind of just like, okay. The police showed up. That used to happen a lot when we were kids. Like, I don't know why. Probably because of the amount of makeup and the ridiculous behavior we used to have. But yeah, we used to get in loads of trouble and always used to get into fights on stage. Not so much now in Fort Hope. We're fine. Like we don't get into trouble. We're not really that kind of band. But yeah, never say never. We're about to go on tour, so you never know what might happen.
I think the worst I've seen here in the States, I was at a show. There was a pop punk band called The Audition, and the lead singer hung from the rafters at this venue, which the venue was a room in a church. And he hung from the rafters. The heating vents were exposed. And so when he hung from the rafters, he damaged one of the vents. And the promoter let him have it after the show. I think that's the worst I've ever personally witnessed, was somebody getting reamed by a promoter.
Oh God. Yeah, then they're just like in the van driving away as quickly as possible.
Yeah. Well, I do know after that incident, the church wouldn't let the promoter use the venue anymore.
Right.
But
well, I mean, they damaged it, so I can see why.
Yeah. You got to control these unruly band members and stop them from damaging everything and breaking everything around them. It's impossible. It can't be done.
So Fort Hope's never been to the States before, right?
No.
Have you guys ever considered coming over?
You know what? We would absolutely love to come to the States and play. Like, it's a huge bucket list thing for us to do. We're pushing as hard as we can to try and get out as soon as we can. It's just something that, like you said, we've never done it. We've been far afield. We've been to like Japan. We've done a lot in Europe, but we've never been to the States. And we feel like it would be something that would be, obviously it'd be really fun, firstly, for us to do, but it would work really well. But yeah, we just haven't had the opportunity. So yeah, we'll just keep hustling, trying to get ourselves out there anywhere. So yeah, if anyone's to the podcast and wants to bring us over to the States, just give me a call and we'll sort it out.
Yeah, I know. You mentioned
it's just something good.
I know we were talking about bands you couldn't think of any bands to collaborate with. Yeah. But are there any bands you would want to tour with over here?
It's difficult not to think of like just the world's most massive bands. You know?
Of course.
I'm trying to think of any bands that we would love to tour with in America.
I was trying to think of who I could see you guys touring with.
Yeah. What would your suggestions be?
There's too many. I know. I'm asked the questions now too, and it's like, I don't know.
It's like, there's just so many good bands.
I know, like, there's this Swedish band called Normandy. They're coming over to the States and they're touring with Our Last Night.
Oh, cool.
But of course, they're not coming anywhere close to me. They're like cutting out a few dates, but they're like nowhere near me at all.
Whereabouts are you?
I'm in Wisconsin.
Oh, cool.
Chris is
Nice.
in New York, upstate New
Right.
York.
Yep.
So
That's cool.
yeah, I'm in the Midwest. Chris is technically the East.
Northeast, yeah.
Yeah.
Both good locations for bands, though, right?
Oh yeah. We have good venues in
Historic,
Wisconsin and Milwaukee. Most
definitely.
people come through to the rave.
Right.
Yeah, we have like one venue here. Well, no, we just had another one open up. But most will come through, or used to come through a place called um the Lost Horizon here in Syracuse. But it's old and they're not putting money into it to keep it up. And we just had a new place open up called the Song and Dance that everyone's going to now. But I like to say, you know, I wish more bands would come here, but I also tell them not to come here, especially in the winter. I like to describe Syracuse as, you know, the good old phrase, you know, when hell freezes over. Well, that is Syracuse in winter.
Right.
It's hell frozen over. Just
It's nothing
stay
changes.
away. Yeah.
And that's the thing, like we've heard a lot about touring in the States is obviously the drives are another level, like driving after shows and stuff. Because we're so used to just like a few hours, I mean, even more than 3 hours to us, it's like, oh my God, it's so far.
Right.
But I know that doesn't touch the sides like in the States at all. It's kind of like, you know, looking at 12-hour drives at least every night on things like Warped Tour and in
Oh
the
yes.
past.
The Days of
Yeah,
Warped Tour.
the days of Warped Tour. But yeah, that sounds like a killer. But I mean, at the end of the day, you're playing a show. So what else are you gonna do? Get in your van and drive. We wouldn't mind. But that reminds me, I mean, the biggest band in America we would love to support would obviously be like the Smashing Pumpkins, especially considering they're recently playing and they're actually coming to the UK soon as well. But that they would probably be our like, you know, if it had to be a dream, like lottery win, the Smashing Pumpkins would definitely be the one for sure.
Yeah, are they playing a festival over there?
They're playing a festival and I think they're doing like a little tour as well. Because I actually live in Wales, but they're playing in Cardiff, and I was thinking, I bet that won't happen again. Like, so I'm definitely going to go and check them out. I've never seen them live, so
Yeah.
I have to see them.
I know there's some
But
great festivals in the UK that I've always been like, oh, I wish I could afford to go over there.
Yeah, I really want to go
yeah,
to Slam Dunk, especially
Slam
this year's
dunk, yeah.
Slam Dunk lineup is great.
definitely. I love Slam Dunk. It's brilliant. We played that a few years ago. We're trying to see if we're going to be playing next year. Fingers crossed, we'll be on the bill for Slam Dunk 2025. But yeah, this year looked great. I think the year we played, I'm trying to remember who headlined that year. I think maybe Enter Shikari were playing, Don Broco, Andrew McMahon from Something Corporate, he was playing the same time as us, which is always awful if you want to go and watch the other band play and they're playing at the same time
Right.
as you. But yeah, you guys should come to the UK. We've got some brilliant festivals here. Just come stay with me. That'll be fine.
All right, we got an open invite,
I'm gonna
Chris.
take you up on that. Don't.
Yeah,
You
should.
thanks to MySpace, I've actually had a friend. I don't know where she lives about now. But I've had a friend over there for a long time, and every year she's like, "When are you gonna come visit? When are you gonna come visit?" And after a while, like, you know, once I had a kid and he got into Peppa Pig. And this is a side tangent now. He got into Peppa Pig. I would keep messaging her tropes from Peppa. And I was like, "Is it true that whenever Brits laugh really hard, you fall down?" Like,
I love that.
do all the Brits put on boots to jump in puddles? Like I just,
Pretty
and
much.
I would message her the tropes, and then I would go into the grocery store. We have a store here that has a lot of like European food, and I would send pictures. And I asked her, I'm like, "What's one junk food that I should absolutely check out?" And she's like, "Jaffa cakes."
Oh, nice.
And I'm like, "Okay, I'll go grab some Jaffa cakes." And it took me a while to find them. So I grabbed those. And anyway,
Were they
so I would
good?
absolutely love to come over. And if I got a free place, I mean, hey, I
Yeah.
mean, I'll throw you a
Like,
couple bones, you know,
I mean,
for
I've also
putting me
got
up.
a son. My son is only 9 months old, so maybe you could introduce Peppa Pig to him, and confirm if all of the British things that you've been learning off it are true. I mean, I tend to wear wellies when I jump in puddles, but I don't know. That'd be great. And the good thing is about like here is everywhere's kind of easy to get to. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like if you want to go to festivals, they're all in a similar time as well, which is awesome. Yeah, like Download Festival here is just incredible. Reading and Leeds Festival, amazing. And we've got tons of smaller festivals too, that are also great. So yeah,
it is really nice that like the UK has all those festivals, but it's more compact, because here in the States it's like, oh, if Chris and I wanted to go When We Were Young festival, it's all the way in Las Vegas. That's hours and hours of driving or an expensive plane ride, you know, and then you got to pay for a hotel in Vegas.
Exactly. And because they know the festival's happening, it's like,
oh yes,
it'll be insane.
And for me to go out there, I'll have to go to, you know, at least a few sessions of therapy to get over my fear of flying. So, you know.
Exactly.
Well, Chris, if you go to the UK, I guess you could just hop on a boat.
Yeah, I'll take a boat.
Do it old school.
That'd be amazing. You know, just a couple 100 miles south of,
it's only a small pond you have to go over. It's only a small pond you have to go over.
Across the pond.
I mean, exactly. I don't even know how long it takes in a boat these days. Have they invented some kind of super speed boat that can do it?
I feel like they did. I feel like there is a super speedy boat out there now.
You know, now I got to look it up.
Yeah, Chris is like, now I need to know. Is there a really fast boat I can get to the UK in?
And then they'll be like, the ferry leaves at the ferry to the UK. I mean, that would be absolutely incredible if it was that simple.
I know that a flight to the UK isn't super terribly long.
It depends which way you're going. I don't remember which way the wind stream is, but like it cuts out 2 hours one way. So like one way is 5 hours, the other way is 7.
Right.
So
I've
it
only
would be
flown to Florida before. That's the only part of America that I've been to Vegas actually. Yeah, I've been to Vegas as well, which took a long while. But yeah, I think it was like 11 hours or something.
Yeah, 6 to 7 days by sea. So no, they haven't found a faster way.
Oh God. I can't believe that it's so long as well.
I guess if you're going on like a cruise to the UK on a cruise ship, that would make sense though. 6 to 7 days, but then it's like 6 to 7 days to get back. That's a long trip.
Yeah, that is.
They probably stop off in like Bermuda or something.
I don't know. They might get lost in that triangle.
Exactly. You don't want that happening, do you? Maybe that's why it takes 6 to 7 days. It's just like the time.
Yeah, you get lost in that triangle and then you get unlost.
I love it.
So do you have any band rituals or anything you do before taking stage?
You think? I mean, when we got a little bit older, we kind of, the rock and roll lifestyle left us slightly. And I mean, I say us, mainly me. My buds in the band, they're still like party animals, central. So they love to just drink beers and the classic rock and roll things before going on stage. I tend to be more of like the pretentious singer who thinks he's Sting. And yeah, I mean, that's what I get teased for anyway. But I tend to sort of like just try and get in the zone, maybe do some stretching and things like that. But yeah, ritual wise, I don't know, because we all try to keep ourselves to ourselves before the show and like get in the zone, and then right before we go on we have like a little huddle. So yeah, but it's as basic as that. But we've got a new member of the band actually, who's joined us, Peter. He's been playing live guitar with us for like, he must have been playing live guitar with us for 7 or 8 years, and we finally made him a full member. So I'm wondering now if he's going to be bringing any rituals to the tour, because he could surprise us all, because he's such a quiet character. I'm like, it's always the quiet ones you have to watch. I'm thinking, I wonder what he's going to do.
Yeah, they say that.
Exactly. So yeah, who knows? But I will report back to you guys if he does have any wacky, strange rituals that he likes to follow. But yeah, generally we're just getting a huddle and go on. And especially at the moment, because the venues we're playing, the green rooms are kind of small, So you're basically in a huddle anyway. Do you know what
Right.
I mean? The whole time. But yeah, nothing too ritualistic actually. Mainly just warming up and things like that.
Yeah.
Speaking of the venues you're playing in small green rooms, do you have any favorite places to play?
Yeah, for sure. In Camden in London, there's a venue called Coco, where it's like this old theatre that's been converted into a venue, and it's absolutely beautiful. So it has like the tiered seating, and like the balconies and stuff, which is just really, really cool because you get so used to the kind of basement type venues, you know what I mean, where they're kind of long and narrow.
Mm-hmm.
And this one has that kind of some of the people who are at the top, they feel super close because they're a little bit higher up. I'd say that's our favorite, like my favorite personally. We played there with Jimmy World, which was amazing. We got added to the bill quite late, so most of the people were expecting, most of the people were obviously there for Jimmy Eat World. So when we came running on, it wasn't quite right, but we still loved it, but we were probably a little bit too energetic at the time for the show. But yeah, that was in Coco, which is wonderful. And I think the other favorite of ours, we recently played in fall last year, which is in Islington. It's called Hope and Anchor, which is like a kind of an iconic London venue, which is just like a basement it's very punk rock. I think like Joy Division and The Damned and a bunch of these punk rock bands from the 80s played their first London shows there. I think it was like The Damned's hometown venue. So it's kind of got that iconic status to it. So when we played there last year, it was our first headline London show back after the break that we took. So it just kind of felt special to do that, and we sold it out as well, which was an added bonus. Yeah, so it's those kind of places, the ones that have a little bit of history to them, I think they're the nicest ones. But
Yeah.
like, you know, we're spoiled for wonderful venues in the UK because everywhere's so old. You know, the buildings are so old and so beautiful and vast. So yeah, they're amazing. I think that's what I prefer rather than your kind of purpose-built things. I much prefer the kind of oldie, worldy, romantic type Phantom of the Opera-esque, creepy, dusty venues.
That must be nice well, I would imagine. And so one of my favorite things here in the States, at least, is when you go into like a small town or village and everything feels close and together and you know, it's a little bit more of an old town, but like our structures, and I don't know if you agree with me or not on this one, Jess, like if you're buying a house and you see a house that was built in like, I don't know, anything prior at this moment to like the 50s or 60s, you're like, oh, that's old. Like I wouldn't want to touch that. Like all the materials used were probably subpar. The building code was probably garbage. But then you're talking about like you're buying a house over there, and it's like if something was built back then, you guys would. I've heard that people were like, "Oh, that's new. That's newer. That's you know what I mean."
It's a new build.
Yeah. But man, I love just from what I've seen. Again, never been over like the aesthetic of everything and the older and everything being close together.
Yeah.
Because me and my wife are talking about trying to move this year back down south, and we're trying to balance like, okay, do we want to be in like a small villagey type thing, like the type of thing that I love, or do I want my neighbors as far away from me as possible? So
Yeah,
but yeah, that I love that it just has a charm to me, like
definitely.
how everything looks over there.
That is
But
quite a tough decision though, right? Isn't it? Because you're like, do I want that kind of isolation, which can be a good thing depending on what type of personality you have or the things that you're into, or do I want to be like in amongst everything within touching distance? And I feel like that battle is real for a lot of people. It's kind of like it'd be amazing if you're able to have both of those things somehow.
Yeah. My husband's always talked about living more in the country, and I'm like, as long as I'm like within 10 minutes of town, I'm fine.
Yeah,
That's not very country.
exactly. But is it
We
To
call
me, it
that
is.
walk? Is it
we
a
call that
walk
the
or is it a
suburbs.
drive?
No, I don't want to be in a suburban complex with a bunch of houses. I want like 5 acres at least.
Yeah, that's
A
the
little
only
bit of
way. Like,
acreage,
especially if you want to play loud music, you know, it's
right?
the
I
only
could
option.
party as loud as I want and people wouldn't hear me because I have 5 acres.
Exactly.
Oh, come on,
I know.
Jess, you're in
I'm
bed
the
by
same.
9:30.
On a weekday, on a weekday, I have to work in the morning. Yeah, you were talking about like venues and stuff that you've liked playing at. It made me think of a band I follow on TikTok called Sharp Eyes.
Okay.
They're from London area and they were talking about the
Mm.
worst London venues
Oh my God. I
on their
hope they
TikTok.
mention what I
It was
mentioned.
it was Brixton Academy,
Right.
Hammersmith Apollo, and Underworld were the three top that he came up with.
As the worst?
As the worst, yes. I don't know. I don't
Okay.
remember why, but that's the ones he came up with. And I was looking back at his TikTok. I'm like, okay, I don't know these
That's
places.
interesting. I mean, I don't know. I guess it depends on your personal taste. I love the underworld in Camden. It's amazing. Like, it's iconic. It's set underneath a pub called the World's End. But it's fair. You can romanticize how nice things are, like typically. Um,
Right.
but really, they are what you would call slightly dingy. But I think that's part of the charm of a venue. Sometimes is that it is stinks and it's dirty and it's shit. It's like
Yeah.
it's a rock venue. You know what I mean? It's like that's what they're like. Um, but yeah, no, I totally get it. I totally get why they might be on the list. Brixton Academy has got this extreme rake on the floor, which is just really bizarre. So like if you're in the audience, you feel like you could literally fall
Oh,
towards
yeah. I
the
think I
stage.
remember they talked about that. That floor is sketchy.
It's so sketchy. It's so bizarre. But I've seen some amazing bands there. Absolutely
Yeah.
amazing.
They did another
So
TikTok post too about like the best small venues in London, and it was
okay.
Fiddler's Elbow, and you mentioned Hope and Anchor,
Oh, cool.
and then Portland Arms, Cambridge.
Yeah. Oh, great. Yeah, I've been there. We've played there too. That's a
Yeah.
great venue. The
So that
Portland
was
Arms.
at least they went back and made a post of the best as well.
Yeah, exactly. And they mentioned some good ones as well. Cambridge is another beautiful place to visit if you're coming to the UK. It's very like atypical UK, if you see, a very very English
Yeah.
place. But it's also really nice. But yeah, that venue is awesome. We played there a few years ago.
Yeah,
Yeah.
unfortunately, I've never traveled outside the United States except for like once I went to Canada, and that was it.
See, I went when my wife and I got married, we went to Niagara Falls on the American side, and we decided we were going to walk over the bridge to Canada, completely free to walk into Canada. What we didn't know is you had to pay at customs to come back when you crossed the bridge, and we didn't have any money on us, and so I don't
Right.
remember how we ended up getting back in, but
They took your
yeah,
information down and sent you a bill.
for 50 cents or whatever the heck it was. Yeah.
That's
They
Yeah.
might have.
mental.
So, do you have any crazy stories from being on the road? I know that you're not on the road super long when you travel around the UK because
Mhm.
you're so close and everything. But do you have any crazy stories that you can remember?
Yeah, I guess like the wildest story that happened to us um, was a near-death experience where we were touring with a band from America called Kill Hannah from
Yep, heard
Chicago,
of them.
and we were supporting them, and we were in the tour bus in the Swiss Alps, and I remember it was like super early in the morning, so we were all like we were all in like PJs and stuff, asleep in bed, and someone was like, "Fire, fire! Like get out!" And long story short, like the whole tour bus caught fire,
Hmm.
and we had to like run out of the bus. Everybody got out. We didn't have time to grab anything, and it just like exploded. It was almost like something from an action film, and the whole middle of the bus just exploded, like a bomb had gone off. So we were very close to like being burnt alive.
Well, that
In
would
our
have
sleep. Yeah, that would have finished things off, like for sure. But it was so weird because we were in this beautiful location, like with snow-capped mountains and stuff. But yeah, that was literally just before we were about to go into a tunnel. And apparently someone had mentioned at the time that if we'd gone into the tunnel, the fire would have been like 100 times worse because of the way, well, physics or something I don't quite understand, but it would have been a lot more intense. So we were really lucky, and we got out alive, which was great. We were so happy about that. But that's probably the most extreme near-death experience that's happened to us while we've been on the road.
That's crazy.
Yeah,
I
it
can
was
only
mental.
imagine.
It was crazy, and we obviously, once they put the fire out, like we had to go back in and try and salvage any of our clothes, and luckily all the equipment was on a trailer on the back, so they just unhooked it, rolled it away from the burning bus. So the equipment was all fine, but what that meant was that the only clothes we had was merch, because that was in the trailer. So
Yeah.
we had to wear Kill Hannah merch, and then they bought our merch for like a few days because all of our clothes just got destroyed.
Yeah. It was either that or you wore your
Yeah, it
pajamas
was
every
quite
day.
amusing. Yeah, exactly. And obviously there's different levels of pajamas, right? Some people like to wear like button-up versions, some people don't wear any. So
Yeah, I
there
mean,
were
it's
some people
true.
outside the bus in like literally just in there, some people with like no socks on, nothing. It was mad. But yeah, that was quite an extreme thing to happen. But it was surprisingly fine in the end.
Well, that's good.
Yeah, we were lucky. Like all fans sent us clothes, and they sent us like food, and a new bus came, picked us up, and drove us back. I don't think we even missed the show, which was awesome.
The show must go on.
Yeah, the show must go on. Exactly.
So how would you describe your music to someone that's never heard you before?
I guess I would describe Fort Hope as like rousing. It's like it's rock, but it's meant to, without trying to sound cheesy, it's meant to like inspire you. You know what I mean? It's meant to be a positive thing. It's meant to kind of like get whoever's listening it to believe in themselves. And that's the message we want to put out in the songs. Whether that comes across in the lyrics or in the music, like we're trying to do it with both. So it's the sort of they both work together like that, like the way the melodies work and the arrangement of the songs, as well as just the lyrics on their own. But yeah, I think I would say it's like a modern rock band with sort of on the edge of being a bit heavy, but you know, the main sort of part of our sound is that uplifting and epic side to it.
Yeah. What two songs would you pick for someone that's never listened to you before to listen to, if you had to choose?
I had to choose. I think I'd probably pick Plans, like I mentioned earlier, and I'd pick one of the two new ones. I think maybe Powers. Yeah, I think that's what I'd go with. Something that like those type of tracks that are a bit more energetic and upbeat and with that kind of message to it. Because I think then you're only going to get like more like if you listen to those two, it's going to get lighter if you're going to go the other way, or it's just going to, it will, as the newer stuff comes out, it'll make sense.
Yeah. I definitely love both the songs that you chose. So I mean, I could definitely see someone falling in love with the band from those two songs.
Right. That's amazing. It's good to hear.
So now for one that's a little different. If you could describe Fort Hope as a bird, what bird would you choose and why?
Oh my God.
We like to throw out these different questions randomly.
Well, the thing that's popping straight into my mind is like the old emo classic of the Phoenix, obviously. If it's a bird, because we rise from the ashes time and time again,
Right.
I would think that that's probably the most suitable bird, but I guess that's a mythical bird, right? I mean, it sounds so dumb saying that. Is it a mythical bird? I'm pretty sure it's not real. But yeah, that's that's probably the bird that I would choose for sure, because we're like a resilient band. We, you know, we shine brightly. We combust into flames and turn into ashes, and then we reappear again.
I mean, you literally almost did combust into flames on the tour bus.
Exactly. It's the perfect bird for us. We should put it in our logo.
You know what I've often wondered, you know, a lot of these like myths and legends, like take the Phoenix, for example, there's always some sort of iota of truth behind it. So I'm really wondering if at any point somebody really saw a bird on fire and was just like, oh, what's the name of that bird? And just came up with anyway.
I liked where that was going.
Some random bird just flying across the sky and it's on fire.
Yeah.
But it like, to take it another step further, it could have been flying back. If it was the mother bird, it could have been flying back to its nest on fire. Then it could have, you know, burnt and then left the baby birds that were in the nest. And the logical conclusion was that bird turned into a baby, you know. It could be.
Babies had to leave the nest. Nest was on fire.
Yeah, that could be it.
Could be it.
It's unlikely, but it could be.
So I think that was our last scripted question, no, Jess?
Cool.
It was.
What so I'm curious about this though. Can you tell, being from, you know, across the pond, that with our American accents we're from two different places? Can you tell?
100. Yeah, 100%.
We get this a lot. Like, I hold my O's a lot. I don't know. It's funny because my husband doesn't hold his O's, apparently.
Really?
Like, I'll say the word bagel apparently wrong.
Bagel.
Yes. Bagel.
Ah.
But it's supposed to be, but I don't hear it. I don't hear myself saying it weird. It just sounds like bagel to me.
Say, ready? Say bay.
Bay?
Now say gull.
Gull.
Now say bagel.
Bagel.
I love that. Bagel.
Sorry, not sorry.
My
I did pick up on it because I what was that show that I loved that had people, because it's the Midwest accent, right?
Yes.
And I think the show I watched was Fargo.
Fargo is North Dakota. They are another whole thing though. That's like A. Like up north A.
But it's not, is there any similarity, a little bit of a similarity with the accent?
Probably. But theirs is definitely thicker. The more north you get closer to Canada. So I mean, Canadians have accents.
They definitely do.
And being from Syracuse, most the best way I can describe the Syracuse accent is like New York City meets Canada. Like we're wedged in between the two.
Right.
And so it's an atrocious accent. I don't think I have it as bad as some people. When I lived down in like Florida and North Carolina, I spent like 8 years away, and I came back and I heard it. I was like, oh gosh, I hope I didn't sound like that.
That's the thing. Like when you take yourself out of the area, it becomes more clear to you, doesn't it? Like,
right.
Because you stick out like a sore thumb wherever you go if you're from somewhere else. So it, you know, becomes really obvious when you go back. You're like, oh my god, I can't believe this accent. Like I was actually born in right near Liverpool in the north of England. So when I grew up, I had a really strong Liverpudlian accent, and then I moved to London, and it just completely disappeared. But the whole rest of my family has got really strong accents, and mine is just completely different, to the point where I don't, you know, feel like I belong to my family, and they like shun me because I'm not,
because you don't have the same accent.
Oh yeah, I'm like the enemy because I sound like I'm from the south and they're all northern. You would
think that in the UK, because you're so much closer together that there wouldn't be different little like pockets of accents. But I mean, that's not any different than like, say, New York and New Jersey. They're kind of close. And you got people with Jersey accents that are just crazy thick. And then you got the New Yorker accent, which is,
Exactly.
I don't know. I recognize the Jersey accent more than a New York accent.
The New Yorker accent. Hey, I'm walking here.
I love that. That's the
But
best one.
that's
Every time I
funny.
cross the road, that pops into my head. Every time.
I'm actually from a town just north of Syracuse called Liverpool.
Oh, no
So
way.
I'm in Liverpool, New York. It's funny, all the areas around here, we stole all the names from countries in Europe. I mean, Syracuse from Italy and Liverpool, and there's so many that we just stole because we're not original.
That is such a
But
cool thing, though. Like, because obviously I support Liverpool football team as well. I'm gonna have to, you know what? I'm gonna have to investigate what type of merch I can find that says Liverpool Syracuse on it, because that's going to be like my new. It's like a subtle way of having something say Liverpool on it without it being like too in your face. I like that. That's going to be a nice little project for me.
I think like our local markets will sell like local school like football shirts, maybe
Yeah.
American football, of course, or like lacrosse is really big here.
And
Maybe
would it
I'll
say would
I'll
it say
locate some
Liverpool?
merch for you. Yeah,
And it would. That's insane. Oh my god, I love it.
I'll
Perfect.
locate some merch for you, and
Yeah, let
maybe
me
we can
know.
set up sending some over.
It'd probably be
That'd
cheaper
be
than
amazing.
sending cereal, Chris.
Oh my gosh,
Yeah.
I can't believe how expensive that we were talking. That
It
was
was
Kite
Kite
Thief,
Thief,
right?
yeah.
We were talking
Was it?
about, oh, have you had American cereal? And I was like, oh, I'll look into it. The amount that it's taxed, and then not
Yeah.
only that, but because of the ingredients in it, it could be seized from customs. So
Right.
it's an insane thing to import, apparently.
But I bet a shirt would be a lot easier.
Yeah,
Could be. That's the
definitely. Like
thing.
a box of cereal, the amount like you have to pay in tariffs and all that, like I think was because I was gonna send one of those sampler packs, right, Jess?
Yeah, but it could cost you like $100 or something like
It was
that.
like $100, and like the sampler pack cost like $250. So I was like, yeah, no, I'm not gonna
Jesus.
spend $2.50 and then like 100 to ship. I'm like, sorry guys.
Especially if that doesn't, it might not even get there.
Yeah.
Yeah, someone's going to eat it along the way and just be like, yeah, it disappeared.
Yeah, customs would
That's
be
Disappeared.
like,
totally.
no, but I'm gonna eat it.
Yeah, exactly. That always happens when, like, because I love vintage recording equipment, and a lot of it you can only find in like the States. And I'll get it on eBay and foolishly think that that's the end of the payment, and then it'll come to the customs and they'll charge like £200 to release it. I'm just like, I just like to pretend that bit isn't real money.
Yeah.
So I still, I still feel like I've got a bargain. But yeah, it's so frustrating. It should just be free. Come on, like they need to sort it out. It's
Yeah.
so not fair. Then you guys could have Jaffa cakes all day long, and we could
What
have.
are these Jaffa cakes? And are they gluten free? Probably not.
I don't think they're gluten free. They're like a soft like a soft biscuit covered in like a thin dark chocolate, and it's got orange jelly
Yeah, that doesn't
or
sound gluten free.
jam. Yeah.
I
I'm
don't
gonna
think it is gluten free because it's got like a kind of sponginess to it, hasn't it? Which is
yeah.
probably
Anything
quite.
really good and like something I really would want to eat normally is not gluten free.
That's it. That's the curse.
Every now and then I'll skip and I'll eat some gluten free though. Like not something not gluten free. Like a friend's wedding, all they had was cupcakes, and I'm like, but I really want a cupcake. So I split one with my husband and I ate half a cupcake, and I survived, you know. I didn't
That's
die
it.
or anything.
It was worth it.
It was worth it.
I love that. You're living on the edge, just like, let me have this. I'm gonna have half this cupcake.
Yep.
And
Half a
see what happens.
cupcake.
Hey, Jess, you wanna turn on screen sharing for a minute? I can actually share some Liverpool merch with you.
Yes.
All right. How do I do this again?
I don't
So
know.
excited about this.
Multiple participants. Did it work?
Yeah, I can share now.
Oh my
This
god.
is great content for the pod, by the way. But yeah,
That's epic.
I'm not even
yeah.
sure how if it records this. or just keeps it on us?
Not
We've never
sure. But
done
yeah,
this.
there's all sorts of stuff. And then
That's so cool.
there's definitely going to be something different within stores. And if I go to the school directly, I mean, I can.
That's amazing. I love it.
I'll send you the link. You can poke around, and
Yeah,
if you see
please.
anything that tickles your fancy, let me know, and let's see what we
I
can do
will.
about shipping it over.
That's so cool. I love that. Brilliant.
Liverpool.
That's it.
Anytime I hear Liverpool, I think of the Bangles and their song "Going to Liverpool" to Do Nothing.
The Bangles.
The
Great
Bangles. I know, such an old school band, and I love stuff from like the 80s though. So
same. I think all the music I listen to is from that era or beforehand.
yeah.
I don't think I've listened to anything unless it's like a band that still is going, that releases a new album. That's the only time I listen to music like that's put out now. Most of the time it's all old stuff.
Yeah, me and Chris, we tend to listen to a lot of new stuff now. I mean, with the podcast, you kind of have to keep discovering new bands.
Of course.
Plus, that's kind of what the podcast is about too. We want to help newer bands get noticed or people learn about them. But at the same time, we have our nostalgic aspect where we're like, oh, I want to interview this person. Like we had Mike Herrera from MXPX on. And I was like, that was a nostalgia one for sure.
Mm-hmm.
But
Definitely.
yeah, we're always
good
looking
to try
for
and
new
balance
music.
it out. There's always great bands coming out and forming, aren't there? Like that's the thing. There's so many good new bands coming out.
Yeah, and it's also, I don't know if you agree with this, Jess, but it's both exciting and exhausting.
Yeah, a little bit
for
sometimes.
new music.
What's exhausting is all the social media I have to put out on the content.
Yeah.
That's the exhausting stuff, but
I know.
it has to be done. It has to be done.
It does.
And we can't afford a social media manager, so.
I know. It's tell me about it. But it's like that's just what's got to be done these days.
It's true.
Yeah.
I feel like it was easier in the MySpace days.
Mm-hmm.
Because you could just put songs on your profile, so and people could discover them just coming to your page.
Exactly. I think that's what it's good though. Once you get the hang of it, like for me, I've had to really learn how to use stuff, and I'm still discovering things like it's silly little things like how to put a link in an Instagram story. It's like something as obvious and necessary as that. But if you don't know, do you know what I mean? You don't know. Just learning the ropes, basically, the whole new tool.
Oh yeah.
And once you get to grips with it, it's so useful. And I think what we've found recently is that it can be enjoyable, and you can like watching it grow and seeing how it actually works is a really good thing. Whereas at first you're like a grumpy old person, it's like resistant to change. Like I don't want to do this.
Oh yeah, we were resistant to change when we first started the podcast. We both did not want to get TikTok.
Yeah.
And honestly, TikTok honestly is our worst following, actually. So it's not the right demographic for us because we're elder emos. So I mean, that's kind of our demographic,
Yeah, for sure.
And now that they're muting all of our posts.
Yeah, they keep muting stuff for copyright infringement because we use songs off of TikTok. But
I saw that this was a big thing in the news recently. So they're not allowing use of, is it UMG?
They're cracking down on it. And it ruined our best post too, Chris.
Really?
I know, I'm sad about it, but it's okay.
You just have to record a cover version like you guys doing it and then use that.
I don't think it would be that great. Our best post was a random post we stole. It was a cat on a washing machine, and it was like slowly moving towards the edge of the washing machine. It was going to fall off, and it was Fall Out Boy, Sugar, You're Going Down. And like it got 27.7K views.
Right.
And that was like our almost viral video, but then they muted it and I had to find some really crappy live version of that song to put it to. And it's just not the same.
It's just not the same.
We can definitely record ourselves. Yeah, we could record ourselves, Jess. I mean, look,
you can record yourself.
You've seen the videos with that kid screaming disrespect your surroundings. I mean, if that little kid can go viral, we can go viral.
Yeah, viral for how bad we are.
Yeah.
That's it.
There's no such thing as bad publicity.
It's true.
Indeed.
It is true.
Mhm.
Well,
Cool.
we've kept you for a long period of time.
No, it's been nice. It's been nice to meet you guys.